Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Top prospect Filip Hrgovic will be back in action this December. Now Hrgovic, he's a prospect I'm very high on. I expect him to make some major inroads in the heavyweight division in the next 12 to 18 months. He's already taken care of Amir Mansour, and he's actually still floating a little under the radar for now, but I do expect this to change. So I'll get to the Team Sauerland press release. He is promoted by them, followed by a few thoughts, including who the opponent could be, because he says he wants to face someone of note. So the press release begins. Filip Hrgovic, 6-0, 5 KOs, continues his world title hunt on December 8 as he returns to Zagreb to defend his WBC international heavyweight title at Arena Drazen Petrovic. The Croatian star sent shockwaves through the heavyweight division with a sensational third-round knockout win over Amir Mansour to claim the WBC international belt on September 8 at the Arena Zagreb. As Hrgovic continues to climb the rankings and move closer to an inevitable world title challenge, the Rio 2016 Olympic bronze medalist, returns to the Croatian capital to defend his belt against another top heavyweight contender. Hrgovic says the experience of walking out in front of my home fans in Zagreb last September was so powerful and emotional. I've never experienced anything similar, and I'm so thankful to have the opportunity to compete in front of my home fans again. There was a lot of pressure on me before my last fight, with Mansour replacing Cornish late in my preparations, and with Mansour being a better fighter and a southpaw as well. That being said, we had a fight plan which I stuck to perfectly and secured a good win and made a statement for everyone in the heavyweight division. On December 8, I will take another step forward in my career. I've never hid from a challenge and have made many tough choices since my professional debut last year. I will continue the same path and face the best possible opponent, as I believe I need to beat the best to be the best. I am currently back in Miami and will be training here with my coach Pedro Diaz until the fight. Pedro has prepared a specific training plan as he did against Mansour, and I am sure that we will be 100% ready for my next opponent. And the next bit, it talks about tickets, some other fluff, all that sort of stuff. Let's skip that. Promoter Nissa Sauerland of Team Sauerland says he has been impressed with Hrgovic's meteoric rise through the professional ranks, but admits tougher tests lie ahead, including December's title defense. Filip continues to impress. His fight with Mansour attracted a 38% television market share in Croatia and earned him a top 20 ranking in the WBC and the WBA, which is an impressive achievement after only 6 professional bouts. Filip must now build on this success. Starting on December 8, the stakes will get higher, the opponents will get tougher, and he must rise to the occasion. Okay, so that concludes the press release, or at least the parts that I'm going to read. So just to confirm on the ranking side of the coin, mentioned in the press release, Hrgovic, he's currently 12th in the WBA, 17th in the WBC, and he's also just entered the WBO rankings. He's rated 14th. So no word on the opponent for Hrgovic for December 8th. There has actually been some chat, some suggestion online that Johan Dorper is potentially being lined up for that fight. And for a guy lining up for his 7th fight in Hrgovic, someone in the Dorper mold, a top 30 sort of guy, top 35 sort of guy, it would send a warning to the rest of the heavyweight division that he does really mean business, because, you know, 7 fights in and you're facing someone like a Johan Dorper or someone of that ilk, certainly a statement. And Dorper, he might be a bit removed from his prime, but we have to remember he still went 12 rounds with Jarrell Miller earlier this year. Jarrell Miller is considered a contender. Filip Hrgovic is obviously still, you know, relatively early in his prospect phase. In Dorper, he looked decent for 6 of those 12 rounds against Miller, but, you know, certainly not, you know, as good as he once was. But if it's not Dorper, then the question is, who could it be? And I had a quick look through the BoxRec ratings, the top 50, and if Hrgovic does intend to back up his statements, his claim of facing the best possible opponents, you know, to be the best, beat the best, the pickings are actually quite slim, because quite a number of fighters have either just fought, they're injured, or they have a fight coming up before the end of the year. November and December do shape as quite busy months in the heavyweight division, especially December. But some fighters who seemingly could be available and good options for Hrgovic could be Alexander Dimitrenko, Carlos Takam, Robert Helenius, Charles Martin, or even Marco Huck. And if I was to guess, I'd say Dimitrenko, Takam, and Huck, they are more realistic options. But these things ultimately come down to money, so it potentially could be someone out of the top 50. But, if he was really looking to make a statement, trying to, target someone inside that sort of top 50, top 60 range would certainly be a good calling card. But all of those guys, would be a good test for him. They would provide him the sort of competition that he says he is after. And by the way that he's going, Hrgovic, if he beats another good opponent in December, he could end up establishing quite a nice little sort of pay-per-view market for himself in Croatia if they were to take it that way, just as Joseph Parker has done in New Zealand. Or potentially they may look to continue to exploit sort of free-to-air options, through television advertising and such. What we heard earlier from Nissa Salin, that the fight drew 38% of the available TV audience in Croatia. That was the Mansour fight. And while Croatia's only got a population of just over 4 million people, a 38% share, that's still a significant amount of people that saw his fight. And that sort of exposure will do wonders for, building his profile, his marketability, his brand in his home country. And he could look to base himself in his own country for a while. We've seen a few other guys that have done that, of course, Joseph Parker in his early career, and a couple of other guys like Tony Yoka, for example. Not everyone is heading off to Germany, the UK, or America these days. Tony Yoka, for example, wants to base himself in France, wants to fight for a title in France eventually. And even though he's currently banned in France, he missed a doping test, so he's got a ban to sort of serve there. He is allowed to fight elsewhere, but he's opted not to. He says he wants to just fight in France for the time being. But anyway, sort of getting back on track, in terms of Hrgovic, December the 8th, it'll be interesting to see who the opponent is. I do think, someone of the Dimitrenko, Johan Dorper, Marco Huck, even Carlos Takam, it depends what sort of check that they will end up cutting those guys. A lot of these guys, certainly if they're on the decline, former title contenders, they will just go chasing the money, especially if they're on the decline. I do have to wonder with Hrgovic as well, is there any intention, not for this fight obviously, but some point in his career to start building towards a domestic fight with Peter Milas, a fellow Croat? He's currently 13-0. He's had some decent wins in 2018 over Kevin Johnson and Francisco Pianetta. So he is also looking like he'll be a pretty good, decent contender. Hrgovic developing quite well as well. Both should be quite decent heavyweights in the division. So I'd have to wonder, will they be meeting at some stage? It's probably a bit early now, but I just wonder if they will look to sort of build towards that fight eventually. Anyway, Hrgovic locked in for December. And December is shaping up to be a very good month if you're a heavyweight fan. Kicking off with the Tyson Fury fight on December the 1st against Deontay Wilder. And even on that card, it looks like there will be 3 undercard bouts that will be heavyweights fighting. There's a whole lot of action. Dillian Whyte later in the month. Obviously now Filip Hrgovic. What do you make of it all? Who do you think Hrgovic will face? And how do you rate Hrgovic as a prospect? Are you high on him just like I am? Or are you a little bit more sort of wait and see, see how it pans out? Or do you think there is someone else who really deserves a bit more of a shout in the division? Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter. Boxing_squared. That's boxing_squared. I'm out.
If you want even more boxing content, come and join me on Patreon.
Every week on a Sunday, I drop a new video on something topical or thought-provoking from the heavyweight division, ranging from rankings, the business of boxing, the false economy of deluded fanboys, the twists and turns in the division, to assessments of fighters and their statements. I hope to see you there, and for more information go to patreon.com/boxing squared. The address is on screen now.